Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Penik. We've got ourselves a Colts preview without any previewing of the Indianapolis Colts. We'll have segments with Jolly, so we'll talk about it a little bit, what the Colts are doing, probably not too much. But before that, Justin, we have an interview with Ryan Dunleavy. I spent 30 minutes with him talking about what's going to happen with Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll, his predictions, talking about why the predictions is a bad decision by John Mara, the usual stuff. How are you doing?
The usual gloom and doom stuff that I'm glad in a way that we don't have to keep talking about hypothetical. We're eventually just going to learn what's going to happen, and we're going to have to accept any decision that they make, Bobby Skinner. So, last home game of the year, I'll see everybody there. I'll see 80,000 people all riled up and excited to get to MetLife Stadium. I'm going to get there early because I want to be the first one to capture all the planes that are going to be flying around the stadium.
Which there is planes scheduled. We'll talk about weather later with Jolly about if these planes are actually going to happen. But Justin, before we get into this interview with Ryan, we talked about the Tony Award at the end. He's defending Tony Award winner. Voting for Tony Award starts next week. And how do you vote? People say, oh, well, you got to join our Patreon. And here's some people who have. We got Tyler Lloyd Shoeneck, not Shoe Nice, Shoeneck. Simon GC sent me a nice email. Thanks, Simon. Group chat. Russ Smith, I think he does the radio show Monsters in the Morning in Orlando. Matt Guadalupe. Beansy, who's from what was the Hillary Duff show with Beansy?
Is it Lizzie McGuire?
Yes, Lizzie McGuire. ILA all the way. Ela, I don't know, something I Los Angeles. Simon Safferson. This reminds me of the cat from the Looney Tunes, the way he talks. Safferson. Sucker and whatever. Michael McKenzie, Isaiah McKenzie's brother. Still on the team, by the way. He's just on IR. Forgot about him. Jimbo. We all know a good Jimbo. Joseph Diaz. He's running for political office. And Justin, who are these special people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkgiants for $2 a month plus monthly tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we record our Wednesday and Friday shows. You get to talk to Jolly Olive and see his beautiful hair. And you can also be part of the voting for the Toney Award, which is awesome. And we're going to be talking about that next week. I don't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah, 1 week from now on this show, we will be announcing the winner, and we changed the thing, so the listeners represent 50% of the vote.
Whoa!
And then me and you each represent 25%. Justin,
Jolly doesn't get a vote.
Nah, I don't think he needs to be able to name like 10 beat reporters, and Danny King's a little out of loop on the West Coast, so we're putting it back into people's hands.
Okay, I like that. I'll be campaigning for somebody. I already made my decision.
I see. This is the first year I talked about it with Dunleavy, because just like. One, I kind of hate the award now, because it's now we had to give people an award, and then it's like a nice thing.
But they like it. But the reporters love it.
Oh yeah, but in reality, it's just mocking them because they think that they get to crown someone as good because they're nice to them. Like, you're not God. Like, change the name of the award. Anyways, it's just stupid. All right, Justin, let's kick it to one of those people that we were just talking about, Ryan Dunleavy. All right, we now welcome on to the show of the New York Post 2023-ish Tony Award winner. It's really the 20. It's like the Super Bowl. Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, I want to thank you for jumping on the show. We usually don't do in-season interviews, but no one cares about the actual games of the Giants right now, so we got to talk about something. Coming at you hot. What's your prediction? Do you think Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll get fired?
That is hot. I think Brian Daboll is done. I think he knows it. I think he sees the writing on the wall. I think Joe Schoen will be back as the Giants GM. That's just my feeling from asking around. Obviously, if John Mara told me that, I would report it. He has not. It's just the feeling I get from people in the building is that Joe Schoen is expected back.
So that was going to be my next question, is like, what is your prediction based off of? Is it like strong reporting, whispers, or reading tea leaves?
Yeah, whispers and tea leaves. Like I said, if it was stronger, if somebody was like, he's coming back, I'd report it. It's just like, yeah, I think he's coming back, but you never know. Like, there's still 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. But the feeling I have is that he's conducting himself like someone who fully expects to be back. So whether that's with agents, whether that's around the building, whether that's team philosophy, meetings. He's conducting himself like someone who fully expects to be back. And I interact with Brian Daboll enough to know that he feels kind of like dead man walking at this point.
Has anything come out from like, you know, a source or someone who's pro Dable or, you know, kind of has a look into his thought processes on everything? Like, has anything come out from the pro Dable camp about all of this or, you know, yet, or is it going to wait till this when it happens or what?
No, I don't think I've heard anything from anybody who's like, if you're talking about like in terms of Dayball feeling like he got a raw deal, like, no, I have not heard anything from anybody in a pro Dayball position. I mean, I think he himself doesn't allow himself to move past, he allows himself to fall into that victim of Patriots, like right now focus. So he can't even, him and the people around him can't even imagine like the big picture, which is obviously a fatal flaw that so many coaches have. Um, so no, I have not heard anything. I think once it happens, you'll realize, you'll start to hear some pro Dayball like, well, he was the coach of the year in 2022. This was awfully fast. But John Mara had that famous line, Bobby, you go from Bono to Bozo pretty quickly in this town. And that, I mean, the whole organization's wearing a red nose right now.
But as much as like, I don't think there's not very many people who are just in love with Brian Dable right now. I like,
Let's do it.
we've been through some head coaching firings, Ryan, and there's just not the vitriol for this guy, even if you want him fired, that there was for the last handful of guys. You know, Joe Judge, Pat Shermer, Ben. It's just not even close. So,
Well,
like,
what are when we're talking vitriol? What are we talking? Locker room or are we talking fans?
I'd say both. I don't think Shermer ever had issues with the locker room,
Correct.
but mostly just from fans and just like the vibe when you're in the building or what. Like you had a conversation. Even Pat Shermer, like you said, didn't lose the locker room. You had a conversation with him at the end of 2019 with any random fan. They want him gone, and it's not even close. You
Yep.
talk to someone in the seat next to you now, and they might want to keep Brian Dable.
Yeah. I would say for me, Brian Dable, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't think he's lost the locker room because, like, that means guys dislike you. I don't think they dislike Brian Dable. He's not particularly hard on them. He never calls them out publicly. Like, that's what players really care about is like, are you driving me into the ground? No. Are you like scapegoating me? No. So, like, I don't think I just think maybe his message is a little stale at this point. Like, the allure of your coach FaceTiming you, we're going to turn this around. Well, the offense stinks and you're in charge of it. So, like, I think maybe they've tuned him out a little bit or it's dry or stale, but I don't think there's vitriol towards him. And again, fans, I think, still see him as like the guy who overachieved in 2022. He was handed an average roster and won coach of the year, right? So there's still that on his resume. So I don't think there's vitriol for him. But let's just get to it, right? Like there is no justification to keep Joe Schoen and not Brian Daboll because Brian Daboll has there's nothing he's done to distinguish himself in the last 2 years, right? His play calling is unimaginative. His front-facing personality. He doesn't answer anything fans want answered. He never has an answer for anything. His fourth downs are all over the place. He scapegoated the defensive coordinator. He scapegoated the special teams coordinator. He changed his whole coaching staff. Scapegoated the offensive coordinator. He's in charge now. No one more to blame. So, like, there's nothing he's done to distinguish himself. But at the top of the list for why this team is bad is because the roster is bad. And I can't hear, Bobby, I can't hear again that Joe Schoen inherited a bad 2021 team. He inherited a team that didn't win, but time has shown us that team had a lot of good players on it, that this team does not have a lot of good players.
Yeah, and I've done this exercise to where I'm sure every time I mention it, the listeners roll their eyes. But I'm like, let's go through the top 10 players on the team, and we can argue about the orders of 5 through 11 or whatever. But like, it's not a good list. And the top of the list is two players brought in by the last regime, and Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas. Really, the only like certified good players that he's brought in are Brian Burns and Malik Neighbors. And you paid obviously hot, premium capital. So you really haven't brought in those players without the premium capital. So yeah, you know that I'm on the wanting Joe Schoen gone, but I do want to focus a little bit on Daboll because that's like you said, what you think is going to happen. Has this conversation happened between John Mara and others, confidants about this? Has this happened between John Mara and Joe Schoen? Like, if it all feels like it's going towards this, has the ball gone rolling on it at all?
To my understanding, no, that's just not how he like. This is my third regime change since I started covering the Giants, and nowhere did I get that feeling that that's ever happened before the season. So, like, maybe if Brian Daboll walked in a la Jim Fossil and said, I need to know my future. And that I think that's when Willington told him, basically, you're not going to be back, so you can coach these final 2 or 3 games. And that's it. You want to know. But short of a coach doing that, and Brian Daboll's not the type to do that, I don't think I've never heard of any owner really letting that conversation get back to his coach.
No, not to the coach, but between has John Mayer had the conversation about letting go of the coach with his confidants or with Joe Schoen, similar to 2019, where everyone knew the last 3 weeks of the season that Gettleman was most likely staying, and they had basically decided already Shermer was going to be the one to go.
Yeah. I would say I have not, that has not gotten back to me. I'd be surprised. Now, maybe his ultimate, maybe like Chris Mara knows, maybe his brother, but it has not gotten to the confidants that would then circle it around to people like us. So,
Okay.
so no, to my knowledge, no. Obviously, that's going to be a difficult situation between John Mara to have to tell Joe Schoen, you have to fire Brian Daboll. So that might be Brian Daboll that might be John Mara doing it, which means John Mara might be involved heavily in the next head coach search. But no, to my knowledge, that has not happened in any circles where John Mara has leaked to anybody who would leak publicly. Again, maybe his wife knows, maybe his brother knows, but nobody 2 levels removed or whatever who would let us know. I have not heard anything that conversation has happened.
So you mentioned, him going to Shane about that. Like, would that be like a, John Mara decision, or is it Joe Schoen trying to save himself, similar to maybe Gettleman in 2019? And if it is so, I have a quote I want to read to you.
Well, here's what I would say about that. Gettleman had no attachment to Pat Shermer, so he had no problem throwing Pat Shermer under the bus. Joe Schoen is very image conscious, very image conscious. He is well aware that it would be a very bad look for him to throw Brian Daboll under the bus as the survivor. So yes, I think if Mara came to Joe Schoen would make an argument for why Brian Daboll should stay. John Mara would say no, and then the two of them collectively would probably let Brian Daboll know his fate. This is all speculation based on how I know things work, how I know these personalities operate. Look, there's just no
there's just no argument that Mara's meddling in all this and thinks he can make one decision and fix it all. Then,
what do you
like
mean?
how do they defend that? Because then you're gonna have Mara's gonna like his influence on firing the coach. If it's the GM who's not making the decision on the coach to be fired, then the owner's sway going to have a lot to do with how the head coach is hired. And I want to read you this quote and see if you can
I think most owners make the decision on whether to fire head coaches and general managers. I mean, to take their input, but I think most, you think Ryan Poles was firing Matt Eberflus, or you think ownership was? I mean, they had that whole.
I don't want to be compared to the Bears, though.
Well, I mean, listen, you'd be lucky to be the Bears right now. So, yeah,
I'm just saying it's like similar dysfunction within the structure of the franchise.
That's who they are, right? I mean, compared to the Jets, compared to the Bears, I'm not going to compare the Giants to the Chiefs or the Rams. They're a situation that has dysfunction throughout the franchise.
Whoa, 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 Ryan Dunleavy and Bobby Skinner. Shut up for a second because I got to
shut up.
Whoa, because I got to talk about Captain Morgan, because today's episode is sponsored by Captain Morgan. Did you know that it's the official spiced rum of the NFL? The NFL season is where legends are born on and off the field. Some are of last-second plays that turn the tide and change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain from within them to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends. So grab your crew, grab a captain, and a cola. Make it a story to remember, because legends start when you follow the captain. Visit followthecaptain.com for more. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. You will be glad you did, and you'll be glad that you keep listening to this interview with Ryan Dunleavy.
Shut up for the next 15 minutes, Justin. Don't speak. Yeah, what I'm saying is that shouldn't happen. So I want to read this quote from early 2020 when they decided to fire Pat Shurmur. Steve and I decided to retain Dave and give him a chance to finish what he had started, which includes so many changes in this organization that people don't really know about, Mayer said. We've made a lot of turnover in our scouting area. We've completely changed our grading system and how we grade college players. We're deeper into analytics and technology than we've ever been before. And the process is ongoing. We've completely reorganized areas in our football operations. We've added a staff psychologist on a full-time basis, and we believe it would be a mistake to pull the plug on that after 2 years. And then talks about Dave battling cancer. That's going to be the same argument. Can you ask John? Can you quote that to John Mara in the end of season press conference and saying why it didn't work that time for these reasons? Why is it going to work this time?
Someone will read that back to him. If it's not me, someone will beat me to it, but someone will read that back to him. You are spot on. Yeah, I'll be sitting in the room. That exact quote will be read. Art Stapleton from NorthJersey.com, I think, is the guy who has the strongest opinion that Joe Schoen should be back. And that's essentially what he's saying is like behind the scenes stuff, like their draft board is better, their technology is better. That's what his stories basically say is that same kind of stuff. And look, I don't disagree that their processes are modernized, but I'm not sure that any 41-year-old GM that you hired wouldn't have done what Joe Schoen did in that regard. Like, I think that was standard catching up to technology stuff that Joe Schoen brought to the Giants that Ryan Poles or Adam Peters or whoever was following Dave Gettleman was going to notice needed to be done. So, but yes, I totally agree with you. That quote, I can hear that quote in 2 weeks. Like, that's going to be set.
Yeah, it just seems like the bar is the floor. Like, so, okay, so what
Let
makes
me ask you
John
something.
Mara?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you something. Since we want to stay on Brian Daboll for a second instead of Joe Schoen. Like, here's what I keep coming back to is like when you change your GM, I want to just make this point, even though it doesn't fit where we were going. Like, when you change your GM, I want to make sure people understand it is a massive organizational overhaul, right? So now John Mara and his people around him have to learn new philosophies, learn new strategies, learn new technologies, learn what's new important, what important priorities. Thank you. Learn new people. You have to change your area scouts. You have to change your national scouts. It is an incredible overhaul to change a GM, and that's why organizations typically do not do that. They're secondarily, Brian Daboll. Bobby? This is my question for you. Like, what makes Brian Daboll? Like, why keep him versus like hire Bobby Slowick or hire Clint Kubiak or hire Cliff Kingsbury or hire Josh McCown or hire whatever offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, hire anybody right now who is like, oh, he's an offensive coordinator of a high-powered offense who can develop our next quarterback. Like, you're just hiring the 2025 Brian Daboll. So, like, that's why I think he's more replaceable, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just think his profile is more replaceable. Like, in 2022, you hired the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator because he did great things with Josh Allen. So in 2025, you hire the Texans offensive coordinator because he's done great stuff with CJ Stroud. Like, that's it. Like, you're just hiring Brian Daboll 2.0 because your Brian Daboll didn't work out. You already know the warts of your Brian Daboll, so you just hire the next Brian Daboll.
I wouldn't use the Texans right now after yesterday. But here's where
you get my point.
Yeah, I agree in theory. The issue is that head coaching vacancy becomes a lot less desirable with Joe Schoen compared to a new GM.
Correct.
Where people make this argument like, oh, if they get rid of a GM and head coach, nobody's gonna want the show. I call bullshit. If there's now, if they're choosing between this and whatever other situation, there may be a better situation. But the red flags of this one are just like, hey, do a good enough job in the first 2 years where you are confident to make moves and don't get yourself fired. Because if Joe Schoen gets fired, he has no one else to blame but himself. Because even if Mara meddles, like he had the balls to stand up to him about Saquon Barkley, he could have done it in other situations.
Correct.
it just
You have
becomes a
done.
much. I mean, it's sincerely, I think it cuts off candidates for you because who would want to join a talentless roster with a GM who,
No, I totally agree.
has like who is basically has a 2 year window to get this
And if
fixed.
and if the coach has a
And even
smart
if you
agent,
do a good job, there's a chance you get fired because they don't want to keep you with a new GM in 2 years.
there you go. You hit it. You took the words out of my mouth. A coach with a smart agent is going to say to him, "Hey, you need like an extra year on your contract here or something," because what's going to happen is this GM is going to feel forced to pick a quarterback, whether you like the quarterback or not. You're going to have to work with that quarterback, and then if that quarterback doesn't work out, they're going to fire the GM, and then the next GM you're going to be the lame duck coach. So they're either going to fire you in 2 years when they fire Joe Schoen, or the next GM is going to come in and you're not his guy, and he's going to fire you after your first season. So like you're absolutely curtailing your like cross Ben Johnson off the list. Like you are absolutely anybody with other options is going to look elsewhere unless that coach loves Shador Sanders or Cam Ward, and most coaches haven't started to do their work on those guys yet. But and the only reasons this job would be desirable is though you love those two guys, or you have the ego that you want to be the guy who fixes the New York team and basically builds a statue.
Yeah, and which again, it's not impossible. Okay, a lot of times some of the best head coaches weren't considered great candidates, right? Like Kevin O'Connell was not only mocked,
Perfect
it was
example.
an there was an outrage against it of like, oh, passing up all these other he's going to win Coach of the Year. So it happens, right? Like I think Zach Robinson in Atlanta, no one's talking about his name. I like that Rams Sean McVay tree, even though they haven't been
Give
a
me
great offense. They're top
give
10
me
in passing and rushing. So it can happen. My issue with
Zach
this is like
Robinson,
you just
Liam
make it
Cohen.
so much harder. You make it way more difficult than you really need it to be by it's just seems like consistently. Someone texted me after I put out that Joe Shane video a couple weeks ago saying the Giants have an issue. It's not even necessarily self-evaluating, even though it is, that they just if something fails with a big investment, instead of being like this is just a failure, what's the one or two reasons why that this has failed and let's fix those two reasons. And they're
That's
going to say quarterback and coach.
Yep. They're going to say, yep, that's it. That's what they're going to say. You're right. They have had a self evaluation problem for 10 years, whether it's self scouting their front office, self scouting their coaching, self scouting their players. They have had a self evaluation problem for 10 years. People who have come and gone in the organization have said to me that is the Giants' biggest problem is don't have a, they don't realize what they are. It's like, what and everything they don't realize what they really are compared to the rest of the league. It's what we are compared to what we were. Like, oh, we're better at this than we were last year. Well, that's fine, but you're still worse than 25 other teams. So yes, that is a definite problem. And they've had a very short-term focus. Like, how do we get better right now so that we can compete on Sunday? How do we get better right now so we're better next year, instead of like how do we get a healthy organization?
Yeah, it's frustrating to see. So let me ask you this, because your prediction is they keep Shane, fire Dable. Are you shocked if they fire Shane at this
No,
point? Like what's your confidence level that they keep Shane? Because I we're not reporters on this show, but I've heard nothing that Shane's leaving, and a good amount of people talk about how they want to keep him. But we've talked about how, oh, well, if they lose, there's 6 weeks left, there's 5 weeks left, a lot can happen. We're down to the last 9, 10 days of
yeah,
this. Like, is there any, do you think there's a good chance that this sways, or is it probably locked in that Shane's going to stay?
I think it's probably 60-40 that he stays. I don't think it's impossible. Like if, you know, it's not going to be because of losing. They're going to lose 12 in a row. Okay. Like, and I've heard people say, like, if Saquon Barkley sets the NFL rushing record against the Giants in week 18, that's going to be unsurmountable for Joe Shane. I mean, like, hopefully John Mara isn't making a decision that much off the cusp. Like, if he
The
gets
issue is he
to,
has,
nah, I don't
and
know if
he shouldn't, because the Joe
I don't
Judge
know if I
stuff,
agree with that, Bobby.
like a Joe Judge 10-minute answer to a question and two QB sneaks, which I agree was a huge pussy move, but maybe even smart from Joe Judge's point of view.
Well, he was trying to send a message.
Yeah, like, you know, Didn't those kind of have some play in the judge decision, or was he
Oh,
going to be gone regardless?
I mean, I think those pushed it over the top. Sure. Yeah, I think those pushed it over the top. But again, those were extreme examples. Those weren't like we lost the last two games of the season, so he's got to get fired. Like those were like extreme examples of the Giants felt embarrassed by that 11-minute answer that Joe Judge felt like he had to because he felt like his message internally was that, him and Dave weren't getting along, seeing eye to eye. His moves were getting pushed. Like he didn't I think this is out there, but like Joe Judge wasn't the one pushing for Jake Fromm to be the Giants quarterback. That was more of a front office Jake Fromm. So like he was playing with a quarterback he didn't really want to play with. So he was trying to send a message with the two quarterback sneaks with the 11-minute rant. So like those are extreme examples that had nothing to do with losses. So like, yeah, I guess something crazy could happen. Like Brian Burns could come out and be like, this organization's going nowhere and I have no hope for the future. And, then it would be like, oh, wow,
Yeah, that's not
that's pretty
happening.
strong. But like, so short of something like that, no, I would say it's probably 60-40 that my feeling would be that Joe Schoen is retained for the sake of organizational philosophy continuity. But I got to say, Bobby, I hate the idea. I think I saw whatever it is, 18 or 19 of the 22 starters are under contract next year. I don't want continuity with this team. Like that's nonsense. Like that's a good thing is like you need to draft or sign guys over these guys. Like the fact that I'll just pick a guy. The fact that like give me a guy. Give me the fact that like John Michael Schmitz.
I was just going to bring him up.
John Michael Schmitz is under contract. Good. I don't want him as my starting center. Like that's not a good thing that he's under contract. He's not good.
Crazy
So
thing is
like,
that's like the least of their issues too. Like you can make an argument that JMS is like their never mind. Wandale's better than him. But like JMS is like one of their least bad draft picks at like and
yeah,
day
I'm just
one and day
using
two.
I'm
But
just
I'm saying
using
that's a great example because they have so
like
many other
Cordell
issues
Flott,
that replacing
like Cordell
centers
Flott's
isn't
under
the top of
contract.
them.
Cordell Flott's under contract. That's great. He can't be cornerback 2 next year. So you need a new cornerback 2. Like and it's great that they're under contract, but they're not good enough. So like you still have to make the guys who are your starters under contract into backups.
Yeah. I just hate like in my mind because I'm like thinking about a week after they decide to keep Joe Schoen. And it's just like, man, my hope once again is getting lucky. Like, let's just hope we get the right head coach and right quarterback. And if you get those two things right, it can fix a lot of things. And that's just where we are in Giants land, where it's like, oh, we're not far away. We just need the two most important pieces
And
to
six
being a
other
winning team. Yeah.
and a right guard and a wide receiver 2 and a cornerback 1 and a safety 2 and at least 2 more defensive tackles. It's not just the 2 most important pieces. It's like 6 or 7 other pieces too. The one thing I will say is Joe Shane's, I guess if I was making a plus, and look, as you know, I've made clear in my right, I think there are more minuses than pluses, but I guess he hasn't gone on wild spending sprees. So the cap's in order, and like you would like to think he wouldn't do the thing that Gettleman did when his job was in jeopardy, where he just like throws like, oh, let's just spend everything to try to save my job. You'd like to think that won't happen because he's drawn fine lines with Bradbury, with Saquon, with who's the offensive lineman who went somewhere else? Robert Hunt, maybe. He's drawn five fine lines with like what he believes guys are. So you'd like to think he won't piss away money. And if the team ever gets good, like you said, we just need to find the most important 2 things. If they ever gets good, him and his staff do seem to have good value fines, whatever they are, like waiver fines, whatever, cheap 1-year contract guys. Like that doesn't help a terrible team. When you're 2 wins, nobody cares about that. But like if you have a 10-win team, that could be a good thing to have.
Right. Right. So, I mean, I can infer, and some people don't, maybe don't want answers. Do you think that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll should be fired?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty hard to say that. What I mostly think, let me say this, but what I mostly think is they should be a package. That's what my number one thought is, that they should be a package. So if you want to tell me that you're keeping them both, then I guess I can swallow that. I think both have done about enough job that the Giants should go in a new direction. I don't. I put let's. When does this come out, Bobby?
Friday morning.
Okay, so teaser for Saturday's New York Post will have research on how often a coach and a GM have been in this position and been retained. I did all the research. It's not often. So, yes, I would think that they should both be let go, but most of all, I think they should both be retained. The idea I like the least is what I think is most likely, which is keeping Daboll and keeping Shane and letting Daboll go.
Well, it's not like they've made that same exact mistake twice before and ended up having to fire everybody and do the thing they didn't want to do eventually. It definitely hasn't happened before.
No,
Uh,
not twice in the last 8 years. No, definitely not.
you're the defending Tony Award winner. Voting will start this next week. It's, once the Good Guy Award is named. Um, you're not eligible. Do you have a recommendation for the 2024 Tony Award, the fourth annual?
I mean, I think a lot of guys did a really good job. So I would put my ballot would be in no particular order, would probably be Paul Schwartz, my colleague at the Post, Jordan Renan from ESPN, and probably Dan Duggan or Pat Leonard. I would say
Right.
those guys have probably done. I mean, Pat's been as aggressive as anybody on this front office uh, and coaching staff. Paul Jordan, and Duggan always have lots of scoops. So I think it just depends on who you read and whatnot. But I think all those guys have done a really good job. And as you know, Bobby, it has not been an easy year to cover the Giants. So
Yeah.
it the good reporting this year is harder to do than most years.
This is the first year where I don't have my ballot like already thought out. Like last year, I was like, all right, I'm going to go Ryan first, Pat Leonard second, and then Jay Glazer third. Even though Glazer's not a beat reporter, it's just like, all right, if
He
he
had
gets
the
this,
scoop that mattered.
yeah, it's like I just know when if he says something about my team, I don't have any doubt. Like there's not a single other reporter where it's like no matter there's not a every other person on the planet says something about the Giants. There's some doubt in my head. Jay Glazer, I don't even fucking blink at it.
No.
But for me, it's about
He had
info.
the scoop of last year. I mean, I won. I'm glad I won. He had the scoop of last year because no one really knew about Wink and Dable until he brought it up.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is the Wink fallout is part of this year's voting, and Paul and Pat both gave me a lot of info on the Wink fallout, which obviously had different opinions. But opinions don't matter much to me. It's simply about
To
information.
uncover,
I've
right?
gotten plenty of my own opinions, so I just don't know where I'm going to go this year. But we're changing the voting. Voters get if Patreon gets 50%, I get 25% in the vote, and then Justin gets 25%. So
Nice,
we'll
nice.
see how it shakes out.
I,
It's
look. I mean, where they are right now is largely traceable to that, like Wink. One of the arguments made for me by people close to the Giants on why they can do this. I should share this. I shared this one other place too. One of the art when I say what I said about how I don't understand how they can be separated. One of the arguments made to me, which would not surprise me if it's an argument being made behind closed doors, is that Brian Dable has done this to himself because he took control of the offense and it got worse. So he doesn't have that to fall back on like he did last year, or he would if he wasn't calling the plays. He could say, well, once I take over, it'll be different because he took over and it got worse. And his coaching staff next year would be such a D-list coaching staff of like guys who had no other options. Guys aren't going to want to come work for him because they know he's on the hot seat. They know it's a 1 year gig and they know he's incredibly hard to work for. I mean, he's worked on the sideline explosions, but that reputation is out there in coaching circles and it's not going to go away in 1 year. So he's hard to, that's why he got his fourth choice at defensive coordinator last year, his fourth choice at special teams coordinator. It's not going to be any better this year if you keep him.
so I have that reminds me of one last question because we don't know how position coaches, there's not public info. So we all kind of assume Mike Kafka's gone. Is there Dre Patterson? They had to deny a request for the Cowboys to interview him last year. Andy Bischoff left for the Chargers. Do you think that there's even if they? I guess you don't think Daboll's staying, but like, let's say Dable stays. Do you think there's any position coaches who decided not to add that extra year on their contract and want to walk, or do you have any information on that? If not, just if you could just say no, we'll
No,
go.
I mean, I believe that I believe some of the assistant coaches who have been here longer have more time on their contract. So the Giants could, whether it's the Jerome Hendersons or the Dre Pattersons, I believe they could block those guys from leaving. And now, obviously, the first year coaches, most guys sign a 2-year contract. So that,
Right.
whether that's the Charlie Bullens or the Tim Kellys. Um, but I think the Giants, if it could block most people from being interviewed. Now, typically you don't do that, but if the GM is staying, then the GM might block those guys from interviewing until he has his next coach in place, especially if they think Jerome Henderson, who's been here for 2 staffs, and Dre Patterson are like terrific assistant coaches.
Yeah. I mean, Falcons did it last year with their O-line coach, who
Yeah.
was the guy that everybody wanted, and they denied the Giants from
The thing
interviewing him.
is, if you do that and then you end up not keeping the guy, that's a really bad look for you in coaching circles. Like if you block Dre Patterson and then all D line jobs end up filling up, and then your new defensive coordinator comes in with his own D line coach, that gets around as that was a really bad. You blocked him from interviewing elsewhere, and then you let him, go anyway once the jobs are filled. That's not. You have to be pretty sure you're going to be able to keep him if you block him.
Fair. All right, Ryan, thank you for jumping on. Everyone, check out the Saturday post coverage on the. I'm gonna make sure to read that because I think I did like 20 years of that, and then I was like, I can't go any further. So, thank you for jumping on as always, and we'll see you when we see you.
Thanks, Bobby.
All right, thanks Ryan Dunleavy for jumping on. Today's episode is sponsored by Corona. You know what I always try to be? A fan that never loses. Here's what I mean. My team doesn't win every single week, but even when they lose, I'm still loving the game. I'm checking Tankathon with a Corona because whether it's a big deep ball, some third and short conversions, or just a great tailgate in the parking lot, or checking out strength of schedule, there's always something to cheer for. And the best beer to pair with awesome moments, Corona. Corona is all about finding the maximum amount of joy within every moment of the game. Win or lose, at home or on the road. It's the perfect beer to go along with watching football and all the moments that come with it. So cheers to everyone who loves the game beyond the scoreboard. Corona. For the fans who never lose, get yours at ordercorona.com. For 21 plus, relax responsibly. Corona Extra Beer, imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois. You'll be glad you did. All right. Final home game of the year. And what's the weather going to look like? We bring on Weatherman Jolly Olive. Jolly, what's the weather looking like for East Rutherford and the Giants doing their best to be the first team ever to lose 9 games at home in a season?
Bobby, me and Justin and some pals will be crashing the party at MetLife on Sunday. And the great news for us is that the weather is going to be absolutely terrible on Sunday. It is going to be a disgusting day. It is going to be a muggy day somehow in the dead of winter. We're talking mid 50s near the end of December. We're talking steady rain throughout the day. We're talking 10-mile-per-hour winds, which does not bode well for the Giants offense. We know how they do with wind. It is going to be a swamp. Playing in the swamp in the Meadowlands, Giants Colts should be an absolute mess.
So will planes be able to go off? Because we know for a fact that there's planes scheduled, but rain can stop that. Are planes going to save John Mayer from some embarrassment?
I think planes will still be able to go off. I don't think it's going to be like torrential downpour. There's going to be some rain, but I think planes will be able to fly.
Do you think propeller planes will be able to fly?
I think so. I would.
You hear that, plane companies?
Get that money.
So you're going to sit through an entire rain game, Justin? Because it's the final game of the year, so you have to stay till the clock hits zeros.
No, I'm not staying until the clock hits 0.
Why not?
Candlewick Diner.
Think about it. When it's June, you're gonna be like, man, I wish I was sitting at the
This
Giants
is so
Colts
true,
game
though.
in the rain.
But the rain just ruins it all. The rain just ruins it all. We're going to be with some pals, Jal, right? It's not just going to be you and me. Some other people are going to
Right.
be there. I don't know. This sucks. If it wasn't going to rain, I would be a lot more excited.
Oh.
People are saying in the chat that John Mara controls the rain.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like this is so perfect. John Mara controls the weather.
Oh,
And
and he
great.
knew that you've been sending the plans, so that's why he turned on the rain machine to
Right.
mess up your day.
Right.
It feeds
Revenge.
into a lot of, you know, anyways. Um, does he control the banks? Jolly, what's trivia like
All
for
right.
this week?
He had that look on his face. I knew he wanted to make it.
It's just too easy for the joke. I mean,
Fellas, we got a good trivia question this week. It's Giants Colts, so it is a Manning brothers question, obviously, but only kinda. We're talking about the matchups between the two brothers when Peyton was a Colt. For those who don't know, in their head-to-head matchups, Peyton went 3-0 against Eli in their lifetime. Two of those games were as an Indianapolis Colt. We're going to focus on those games today. In the two matchups in 2006 and 2010, there were three different skill position players who had 100 plus yards from scrimmage in either one of those games. So I'm going to let you guys text me three names for the three players you think had an 100-yard game in either of those Giants Colts matchups that went to the Colts.
so
There is
Colts players included?
Colts players are included in this question, and there is a bonus question after this.
All right, so I'm gonna
How
send
many
you.
players, Joe?
Three names, no penalty for a wrong name.
The 2010 game was so bad. But the
I just sent.
06
I
game was
just. I just sent. They scored a lot in the '06 game.
06 game was a classic.
I just sent you my three, Jolly.
Got him. Bobby's always first.
All right, I just sent three names as well.
Okay. Okay. We have our results.
How did I do?
You both said Marvin Harrison. He did have 113 yards in the 2006 matchup, so you both get a point there. Bobby also said Plaxico Burress and Reggie Wayne. Neither of those answers are correct, so you'll end with 1 point. Justin Penik added in Reggie Wayne as well. No point there. But he did say Tiki Barber, who had 171 yards from scrimmage in 2006. That was the only Giant on the list. So Penik, you walk away with 2 points. Bobby with 1. The other answer was Joseph Adai, who had 113 yards for the Colts in 2010. But we're not
Big
done
Joseph
yet.
guy.
We're not done yet. There's one more point for you guys both to get. This is a one name answer. So you're going to text me one name. That's it. Can you name me the only player who scored a receiving touchdown in both of these games? I will not tell you if it's the Giant or a Colt, but one player scored a receiving touchdown in both the 2006 game and the 2010 game. Who is that?
Okay,
dude?
I just sent it to you, Jolly.
Okay.
Justin, have you sent press send yet?
Yes.
I
So
feel like
one
this
i-
has to be Reggie Wayne, right?
So one of you did get it right, but it is not Reggie Wayne.
Damn it! Damn
It
it!
was
damn,
Justin
damn,
Penik's
damn.
answer, which was Dallas Clark, the tight end who scored in both matchups. So a big swing for Mr. Penik entering this matchup. It was 28-24 in favor of Bobby. Penik put up 3 points. Bobby put up 1. So it's now 29-27 with only one more round of trivia to go.
Yes.
Can you make next week's a 1 point only
That'd
question?
be kind of fun. Imagine
It'd
if I
be
just
evil.
did that. Just ended the
Be
season.
evil.
For those who don't know, the winner of trivia at the end of the season gets a Giants jersey of their choosing.
What
Courtesy of
what
me.
jersey? So we need to have our jersey that we want planned already, Justin.
Or you can make a big surprise announcement if you want.
But I'm saying planned for like whenever the winner's decided, you need to have it ready to just say on that pod because no one's going to care after that.
Oh, that's a good point.
I have an idea.
I'll take a signed Eli Manning Super Bowl
Not
jersey.
signed. I'm not doing that. No. No. No.
I'll take the jersey that Eli wore in Super Bowl 42.
You're getting it
Game
off
worn.
DH Gate with a misspelled last name and no number.
Yes. Now we're talking.
It's gonna be the wrong size.
You know, I have a Jason Pierre-Paul jersey where it's instead of Pierre - Paul, it's like an underscore. Yeah,
It's pretty good.
it's good. It's good stuff.
It's a collector's find right there.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll just save it for the quarterback we draft first. All right, time for fantasy. I'm kicking your guys' ass.
Hey,
Um, I need 67.7 points over the next 2 weeks to set the scoring average record. I'll be picking first with 602 points. I had 43 last week. Justin picking second. Lost a lot of ground with 18 points. He has 63 points back. And Jolly's within range of second place. He had a 48-point outing last week. He's 77 points back. I am picking first this week, and it's an easy first pick for me, especially with somebody being, not practicing on the Giants. I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor. He's been on one lately. Uh, Easy money. Like I I really feel like his performance decides if I break the record or not, because running backs can have these random 45-yard games against the Giants. But I'm going Jonathan Taylor first. Justin, you're second.
I'm gonna go Malik Neighbors. I know he didn't
Yeah.
practice. I mean, they're either top option for the Giants. Both of them haven't practiced, but I think Neighbors is gonna play.
That's a solid pick. This is a really bad week to have the wraparound. Um, Really good week to have the first pick, so good for Bobby. I would really like to get second place after my terrible start. All right, I'm going to
You
take
didn't
my
have a terrible start. You had a terrible middle.
Yeah?
Because I think you led at some point, right?
No, I don't think I ever led.
Oh, well, anyways. Actually, no, you didn't lead because I led and then Justin took the lead and I took it back.
Yeah.
All right, dude, you got back-to-back picks.
Colts receivers kind of stink. Like they're all kind of the same. The top
They all
three
have
of them.
between 600 in the 600-yard range.
So I kind of feel like it's
Pittman,
just a
Pierce,
grab
and
bag.
Downs.
I'm contemplating taking two Giants, but Tracy also didn't practice, so that gets kind of scary, and it's an ankle thing. I'm going to take Wandale with the three because he's been kind of consistent, and I kind of just want points. Um, I could have taken two Colts receivers, but I kind of don't believe in any of them. I will take. I'm going to take Alec Pierce because I kind of believe in the
Oh my
explosive
God.
play capability against the Giants. Like I feel like the Colts are just going to try and air it out, and he's like the guy for that. So I'll take him.
Be a little rainy. Pierce has sometimes he has a little bit of drop issues, and even if he get like PPR matters, um, he was. I'm thrilled at the wraparound.
Sure.
All right, Justin, your second pick.
I'll take Josh Downs.
All right.
So it gives you Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
It's not
getting
that
number
bad.
3 and number 4 on my big board because, like you said, Josh Downs with Anthony Richardson is just it fluctuates too much, and it's just with Anthony Richardson he hasn't put up the same points that he does with Flacco. So I'm gonna go Michael Pittman second, and this is a tradable slot. And I honestly I don't give a fuck about any of the picks after this, so I don't even feel the risk. I'm gonna go Tyrone Tracy, with my third pick. So I got my 1, 3, and 4 on this one. So if I mean maybe I'll just win the scoring title. Justin, your third pick.
Yeah, I have that pick, don't I? Um, dude,
It's so bad.
dude,
This is
Yeah,
a
it's
dude,
great week
really
to
really
have the
bad.
one, dude.
dude. 80, 80 Mitchell is the name that just came out of my mouth.
I feel like that's a terrible pick.
I feel like it is a terrible
He
pick.
did it. He did it. He submitted it.
What
That's
is a
locked.
good pick?
That's locked. A
Someone
better
who
pick, I think,
starts
is
like you
Like
could
what?
hedge against the neighbor's injury and take Slayton, even though Slayton hasn't done anything since Daniel Jones left.
Right.
I will be hedging against the Tracy injury and taking Devin Singletary.
That's a good pick.
And then I'll double hedge and I'll take Slayton.
So this could be big, man. You should be rooting for injuries.
Back to you, Penik. Mo Ali Cox, go for it.
Yeah, Moali, Cox, and your face. Yeah, give him to me.
Crazy.
So I've been very low on this guy, but he's actually 8th on my big board, and I'm getting 12th in a week draft. I'm going Daniel Bellinger. Lot
Oh,
of
what a
soft
great
zone.
pick! Wow.
A lot of soft zone. All right. That's that could be the difference between 7 points and 0 points. A lot of soft zone here. So I feel great. This might have been my best big board average on this one, and you can joke about the big board, but I'm about to win my third title in a row.
This is true.
Uh,
I'm a spread
Can't
picks
deny
guy.
it.
Preparation is the key. All right. So to recap, myself in first, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Tyrone Tracy, and Daniel Bellinger. Justin in second, 63 points back. Malik Neighbors, Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, Mo Alley
I don't
Cox.
like my team. I just thought of that.
Do you know what Adonai means in Hebrew?
No.
Lord.
Sure.
And then Jolly, who's in last, 77 points back. 77.2. So he could win 77-0 this week and still not be the champion.
All right, relax.
Wandale Robinson, Alec Pierce, he's talking about the 2022 second round, my people. Devin Singletary, and then Darius Slayton. All right, Giant factors. This guy was actually activated off the IR. He's on the roster now. Please don't make him a healthy scratch. Deontay Johnson.
Oh my God.
I want 10 plays. Give me 10 plays. He's better than tell me he's not better than Darius Moasow at actually playing linebacker. Like they were playing him over him in training camp. Give him some snaps. Deontay Johnson, be a Giant factor. Justin, you're a Giant factor.
Bobby, you watched the film, bro, right?
Yeah, not as intently this week. I kind of went through it as quickly as possible to get a film review up, bro.
Jake Kub is kind of fun.
Not terrible. It was decent. Now it's a very bad interior group for the Falcons, but not terrible.
You know what? Interior competition gets a little tougher against those Colts, huh? Jake Kubis, go out there and be a Giant factor. Go out there and don't be a disaster. We like you. UDFA in a weak UDFA class. Be a strong one. Go out there, be a Giant factor, Jake Kubis. How about it? I love you, bro.
Like, do enough for us to say you should be the backup center going into camp.
That'd
Like,
be great.
where we're tracking if you're taking snaps or not. You forget this is how Nick Gates, got his name, was late season
This
playing
is true.
time. Jolly, who's your Giant factor for Week 17? Which
Well,
I wish Week 17 was the end of the season like it used to be. By the way,
Well, if Deontay Johnson is a healthy scratch again, that means that my Giant factor, Darius Muasau, will probably be playing a large role in the defense. I'm sure that Joe Schoen would love to brag about another part about the
if he
2024
brags about
draft
Darius
class.
Moss, I'm going to lose my mind.
And this would give him ample opportunity to brag about it. The guy who was our interception leader for like 12 weeks faces a QB who throws a lot of picks, 5 in the last 3 games. Bobby Okereke's on the IR, so he's going to have more responsibility. It could be a disaster, but also it could not be. Go Darius Muasau. Be a Giant factor.
I would love for Darius Moasow to lead this team in interceptions because right now we have 3 guys tied for one: Falot, Moasow, and Trey Hawkins. Trey Hawkins can't play, so
And
I
you
either
think
want
Joe Schoen won't bring that up, you're out of your mind.
I want Darius to be it because I want it to be like a whole offseason joke, like team interception leader Darius Moasow.
It's a good trivia question in like 2 years. Like, who led the awful 2024 Giants in interceptions?
Yeah, it's just it. But it would be one of the biggest running jokes of the offseason. It's like, guy led our team in interceptions. He's a ball hawk. So like when Trey Hawkins got injured, I was like, Giants interception leader Trey Hawkins is out with an injury, and people got a kick out of that. All right, spread picks. Who are spread picks brought to us by Jolly?
They are brought to us by Cushy Dreams. It's officially the holiday season coming up. We've got pitchers and catchers because Christmas and Hanukkah have already passed. Ad is dated. Cushy Dreams is the finest in legal cannabis, and they've got your favorite edibles, the Delta 9 THC gummies. They're legal too, and they ship directly to you, bars. The gummies contain the same active type of THC as the stuff they only sell at the dispensary. Euphoric, delicious. They come in strawberry, sour watermelon, green apple, and tangerine. Oh my God, the flavors. And since you listening to this here pod are a John Boy fan, you get the deal of the year. 30% off all Delta 9 gummies in the entire store from now until Christmas Day with code JohnBoyTHC. 3 winners are going to get an $100 credit to Cushy Dreams' website. Each order over $50 qualifies as an entry. So if you place a bulk order, you might get another bulk order on the house, courtesy of Cushy Dreams. Winners are chosen at random and will be contacted by New Year's Eve. Offer ends soon. Code JohnBoyTHC at cushydreams.com. You will be glad you did.
Be glad you did. All right, spread picks. Jolly, he is doing well. It's like combined. Instead of trying to make it all confusing, since we had Wednesday games this year, I combined last week and Wednesday's records. So Jolly's in first place, even though he went 3-6 last week and Wednesday. But he's 70-58. So basically going to finish over 500, which is nice. Justin in second place is at 500, 64-64. The listeners are in third place at 59 and 69, went 4 and 5, and I've went 1 and 8 the last week on Wednesday. I'm at 57 and 71. I would need to go a perfect 14 and 0 to finish the year to hit 500. Not impossible, just improbable. Only 6 games since we had Wednesday games. Seahawks at Bears, Thursday night football. Seahawks 4-point favorites. The listeners represented by Tim Rightman, not the wrong man. The right man is going Seahawks -4. I agree with him. I keep on wanting to take the Bears, and then I realize no, the Bears just suck. Stop picking the Bears ever again. I'm going Seahawks. Justin.
I want to take the Bears. I'm not going to. Seahawks.
Okay.
Jolly.
Seahawks for me as well. I can't believe you even thought of that, Justin. You scared me.
I wanted to because I want to believe in something.
Speaking of the Bears, Justin, I was sad because it's like, oh, Robert Smith stopped doing content. He can't do the Senior Bowl stuff with us
No.
anymore.
Yeah.
Chargers at Patriots +4.5 Saturday. Is this the game that Chris Rose is calling?
This is the game that Chris Rose is calling.
Fun.
Make sure you tweet at him. Just tell him we sent you. Chargers at Patriots +4.5. My Chargers. I think they get their first blowout win of the year. Actually, that's not true. They've blown out other teams. But I'm going to Chargers -4.5. Listeners agree. Jolly, do you agree?
This is like my Bears for Panic. Like I kind of want to believe in the Patriots a little bit, but they're just so bad. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, same here.
Dude, I hate to say it because they've won 6 Super Bowls. The Patriots are slowly turning into a really bad organization. Like ownership smells themselves way too much. They didn't even do a head coaching search last year, and they regret it, but they don't want to admit that they messed up with Gerard Mayo. They just need to get the right offensive coach and hopefully.
And
get
Drake
lucky.
May is good enough where they may not fire Mayo.
Yeah, that's what like. They're slowly turning into a bad organization. Broncos at Bengals -3.5. This is the game everyone's watching. The Broncos take their asses down. It's honestly bullshit that the Bengals are favored in this game. Broncos put the Bengals out of their misery. Justin.
My Bengals aren't dead. Give me my Bengals. Super Bowl pick is still alive.
Listeners agree. Not with the Super Bowl part, but the pick. Jolly, do you agree?
No, Bengals are 2-5 at home, and I just believe that they're gonna crawl their way to the end and then get eliminated like right at the end. So I'll take Broncos.
Well, if they lose today, then
Yeah, if they lose today, then they're.
Oh, I keep forgetting. Week 17 is not the end of the season like it should be.
it should be. Soon we're heading for a week, 19 eventually.
Week 20, baby, bring it on.
Because like Breed.
Maybe we'll play
Cardinals
162 eventually.
Cardinals at Rams -7. I don't even know why I put this in here. Cardinals plus. I went Cardinals +7. They beat them the last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listeners go Rams. Jolly, what do you got?
I mean, I don't know. Give me the Rams.
It was a massive spread. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. It was so
me,
weird.
me on,
Kinda caught
me on Thanksgiving. Me on Thanksgiving.
Stop.
Cardinals cover. Rams win.
Yeah, that's where I'm standing. Packers at Vikings
Me on the train.
+1 game of the week. Jolly Olive, what's going to happen?
I have the Packers going into Minnesota and grabbing a dub.
Listeners agree. Justin, I think you agree as well too.
I do. Yeah.
Just making sure I don't fit in. I'm going Vikings +1. Sunday night football. Falcons at Commanders -4. The listeners are going Falcons +4. Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, primetime football takes. I'm so excited for the takes from this game. Jolly, who do you got?
Commanders are coming off a pretty magic win. I feel like they're just going to ride that momentum. Penix, I think it'll be a fun matchup, but I'm taking the Commanders.
Justin, did you see someone shared a clip of us being like, I don't think Michael Penix is going to be a franchise QB? They're like, how do these fucking idiots feel now? It's like,
One game.
fine.
Yeah. Shared the picture of us interviewing him, thinking that we.
Oh yeah, it's like, did you say you thought he was going to be a bust to his face? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not an asshole.
Yeah.
One, I hadn't even watched the film. I just thought that was so funny. It's like this is it.
I mean, we are family members, so maybe I shouldn't. We are related, so maybe I shouldn't disparage him in any way. Commanders cover though. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, I'm going Commanders as well because of my disrespect for Michael Penix. Just pure disrespect.
It has nothing to do with the Falcons' defense or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Has everything to do with our takes.
correct.
All right. Colts at Giants, final home game of the year. Jolly. Do the Giants go defeated at home this year?
I've got bad news for the tank enthusiasts. I have never lost a week 17 in
Oh God.
person. I'm undefeated in my life, which means when I walk into MetLife on Sunday, the Giants will win 17-14.
Are you referencing last year?
Yes, I'm 1-0.
That was a week 18 game.
No, what Jolly means is that he has never
Final
seen
home
a
game of the
loss.
season.
He's never seen a loss in which it was the final Giants home game. That's what he
Thank you.
means.
Thank you, my lawyer. Thank you, my lawyer.
Let the record show.
Justin, what's your score prediction?
Let the record
Dude,
reflect.
it will be a full-scale meltdown if the Giants end up winning this game because not only will they lose their first pick, they'll drop to like fifth.
I wouldn't mind it.
And then we'll be talking about trading up for these guys. Justin, score prediction.
Um, Colts 23, Giants 10.
All right, I'm gonna stick with it. You know what?
Mm.
Just in case, because of Seth the Flow, and I want to be able to make some type of jokes about him, but I don't even feel like the need of like, oh, tank. I'm just gonna say, because of Seth the Flow, the Giants are gonna win 77-0. We'll be back on Monday for a recap or Sunday night on live on YouTube because we do that now. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.